Hey guys, this is kind of a special portal room. We have some guests, and when I say we, I mean Captain Xena and the DC reviewer went to NecoCon and started talking to some people. And we have those cosplayers that we did a short video on before, and they're here now live. We're going to get into it right after this. All right, we're back. Um, Mark, Captain Xena, I want you to do the intros. So, have at it.
Thank you. So like Calvin said, we went to NECACon this past year in Hampton. I guess it was around November, and we attended pros and cons two of their panels, which were fantastic. And then the last day, we had the opportunity to go to where they were their table and speak with them, and they shared quite a bit of knowledge with us. So I thought it would be great if we could actually bring them on the show and discuss a little bit of what we talked about and what they especially talked about during the panels. One thing that I love, the two ladies, they make all of their costumes, and they talked about like the pros and cons of what they have to go through when they actually do make their costumes. So, without further ado, would you mind introducing yourselves?
Sure thing. Do you want me to go or do you want to start us off?
Oh, go for it.
All right. We are Pros and Cons Cosplay. We have been cosplaying for over 20 years at this point, which has been a really wonderful ride. We're twin cosplayers from the Midwest. And like you mentioned, we build mostly all of our own stuff. We're really kind of, I think, uniquely positioned because we, one, build all of our own stuff. We're really big crafters. We love competing in cosplay. And we also do a lot of event running on the side as well. And so we have kind of this sort of 360 look at cosplay. We do running events, running cosplay contests, doing workshops, kind of just trying to teach the community how to get excited about costuming. And we also have a really strong focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion, which I think is really important, especially now, and just kind of making the cosplay space as inclusive as possible for everyone. So, yeah.
I think that was totally perfect. Like nailed it. Truly, I'd also like echo the fact that we've been very fortunate to have so many great cosplayers that we get to meet, like doing different events and some of the shows that we operate, and just some of the different people that are part of the community. They really, really make it a strong and like wonderful place to be. So, despite some of the trials and tribulations that we go through, it's always meeting the people that really, really make it worthwhile. So, we've had a great run for the past decade, 2 decades. Oh, geez.
Wow, you seem really young to be say that you've been doing it for 2 decades.
Thank you
So,
for saying that. I'm going to take
Yeah,
that.
really.
Yes, I love that.
You know what I mean? I thought you were, you know, I don't know.
Listen,
How
a
do I say this
skincare
without?
routine is always what it is. You gotta get the
Moisturizing,
moisturizing is what keeps the youthful glow.
yeah, because
Also, the
I didn't
camera
realize.
filter helps.
Yeah, also the
Photo crop can get rid of those dark circles.
Now, I know for me, I will say I don't do a lot of cosplaying myself. My wife cosplays quite a bit, but you, from what the pictures we have, and I do want to show a few of those. Um, you made every one of these that you've done. Is that correct?
I think so. Yeah. Yes, I did. Yes, we did. The ones I sent you, I was trying to remember. I've done like a couple that were like, just sort of bits and pieces. But for the most part, yeah, we do make a lot of our cosplays. Um, it started off as just a love of crafting and just being able to. We've always been crafters, always like doing little things. Like when we were kids, we'd like play with Play-Doh, and like our grandmother had a whole stash of fabric she just let us play with. So we've always been artsy fartsy, as I like to say, and so it just kind of grew to be a bigger thing once we became aware of cosplay and what to do within it, and a newer way of like making interesting choices with fabric and and other crafting supplies. So yeah.
What are some of the trials that you have had issues with, cosplaying and making your own costumes?
Well, that's a good question. Uh, okay, sorry. So the biggest one I think is always figuring out how to map a fictional character onto a real person's body, right? So a lot of our cosplays are from anime and video games, and the proportions of those characters are not humanoid. Oftentimes, Sailor Moon's like eyes take up 3/4 of her face, so it's not like it's not easy to replicate those kinds of things to make it look good on a normal person's body. So I think that's always, I think it's the fun part, but it's also a challenge to figure out how to get those fantasy silhouettes onto a real person's body.
Okay. And is there any character that you would not do? I mean, you mentioned anime, and we met you at the anime convention, but is there like a certain, character or a certain, maybe costume style that you were like, no.
I don't think in terms of style, no, I have preferences for making things, of course, but for the most part, if I like it, I'll do it. The only kind of caveat I think we typically have is like we're not going to do anything problematic, right? Like if a character is inherently a racist stereotype or like problematic in that kind of way, we typically won't. Well, not typically, we won't do a character like that. But we kind of like the challenge of doing different things, getting to explore different mediums, getting to explore different like silhouettes. So yeah, as long as we're like jazzed about the costume, there's not really a thing I think we're inherently like absolutely not, unless it's an inherently like problematic costume, if you will.
I totally agree. We do have like different aesthetics, right? Like I
Yeah.
tend to gravitate towards certain shapes and like designs. I personally like things that have like a strong structural silhouette, so very obvious lines, very obvious contours. And I love ones that have an interesting wig. If the wig is this weird looking, I'm usually pretty jazzed to do that. Or if it looks like something to where I'll have to figure out a brand new technique to achieve a certain look. Like for example, I didn't send you a picture of this, but many moons ago, I did Yojimbo from Final Fantasy X, and he is like his shoulders come out to like here. He's on like raised shoes, like his face is a whole mask. So figuring out how to get those kinds of things on my body, I really love it when the shape is kind of unusual.
Okay.
We think we have opposite aesthetics too, which is very funny as twins who try to kind of do similar things. I hate anything that's going to require me to do a bunch of math or if it's going to require a lot of structure. I love pretty things with a lot of decoration. If I can use every kind of material on it, I'm jazzed. I don't really enjoy wig styling. I like making shoes. Love that. Give me a corset. We'll make those. But if I could kick the wigs over to Con, I will. I can do it. I just don't like it. So
Okay. Now, I had a quick question. I know you said that you were playing with your grandmother's fabrics and that's how you really first started. Um, what was your first costume that you ever created when you were doing that? Do you remember, or is it something that you have, or anything like that?
That's a good question. The first costume we ever made
Yes.
was like we assembled things before we made our first costume. I think the first one that we made was it
I think it was Balthier and Ash. I think that
was
was
it
the first thing
Balthier?
from scratch. Yeah, because I think so.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, our first costumes that we ever made were Balthier and Ash from Final Fantasy 12. Excellent game, by the way. And we
The
had,
best Final Fantasy. The
huh?
best.
I loved it. It was so fun. And yeah, I think that was the first time we were like, we're gonna tackle it all. It had foam, it had sewing, it had wigs, it had shoes. It was so hard to walk in so many ways, but it was so fun. And I think that was God 2009, 2008,
Oh, I
something
think it
like
was
that,
earlier than that. I think that was 2005 or 6. It was a
maybe.
long time.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
So yeah, and that was ironically our first time competing too. We competed separately. We weren't competing together. We were like, oh, let's make these costumes. And so they're pretty. If you look up the characters, if you know who they are, they're a little ornate. And for us who had never made a full costume before, it was pretty. It was an interesting undertaking. We had our mom's sewing machine, um, very old machine, tried to like figure out how to glue things together and sew things together. So it was quite a time. I had spray painted some Crocs to be black. I bought bright pink ones and spray painted them. So naturally they like totally flaked off when I walked in. Um, but we had an absolute blast. Like it was so much fun. And we got I think I got a Judge's Choice Award that time, so it was pretty cool. But yeah, it was really fun.
I have a question for the first time, and I've been in the fandom for a while, but I forgot to do last year my Klingon costume,
Hmm.
and I put the forehead on, the whole nine. I had the robe. I had this 3D but it's a speed print shirt, but it's not, you know, of the armor, you know, and the hair kept getting in my face. And when I did my Mandalorian, the boots were hurting my feet. Do you, when you get your costume together and little things, you know, these little things start to pop up, these little annoyances, these little things, you're like, I first of all, I take my hats off to women with long hair, because being in that wig and every time I move, hair slapping me in the face, I'm pulling stuff out and I'm throwing it back here. So hats off to you guys on that. Then I was wearing those boots and they were killing my feet. Just killing. So when you guys get your costume together, comfort in mind, or just trying to get that particular cosplay out there, and then you're like, oh, okay, this was a mistake. You know, as far as comfort is concerned.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, it is kind of a plus and minus. I will say more often than not, I'm more concerned about it looking correct than me being comfortable in it. But comfort is relative. I think sometimes when you put the costume on, you're just like, it's go time. Like you're just going off the adrenaline. But at this point in my life too, I have a certain time period where I'm willing to be in the costume, right? Like after being in it for 5 or 6 hours, I'm like, it's time to put on some sweatpants and a t-shirt. Like we're going to be a slug after putting it on for so long. So I will say though, I think at this point though, we're used to building costumes they're maybe not super comfortable all the time, but they're wearable. And you just have that time limit that you stick to. And you're like, all right, I know my obligations for the day are over. I'm putting on sweatpants. It's time to go. And you're always chasing that knowledge that in a few hours you can have a taco
Right.
and a beverage
Yes.
and be out of that and be comfortable. So I think that's like the mentality.
I am kind of at the point now that I don't think it's possible to wear a comfortable costume. Even the like Kigu's, I'm uncomfortable in that because I'm like, I want to be in bed. So I think I just don't think it's possible to be comfortable. So I just like choose your own adventure of pain. I can't deal with high heels all day, so I will wear a wedge if I'm wearing or tennis shoes or something if I'm wearing a ball gown. I'm luckily very tall, so I can get away without having to wear heels sometimes. Or I know, like kind of what Con said, what my limit is. Like we're gonna do 4 hours in here, and then I'm going to be horizontal. So yeah, I think
Yes, we're not going to be anymore. And I think that's a good point too, right? I think the older you get, the longer you've done cosplay, the less you're like, I'm not going to cause myself physical harm, and I refuse to be somebody else's problem.
right.
Insurance is too dang high, so I'm not going to the
Yes.
hospital over cosplay. So we're just gonna like do what we got to do. And I understand my body too. Like I know what my limits are. I think that's really important for cosplayers is to know when their body's going to give out on them. And there's no glory in punishing yourself to look pretty. You know what I mean? So
True.
Oh,
Both versus.
I found that out. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
There's definitely once you hit that mark. As a matter of fact, I was in that with Mark. I should click on her this year, and he's like,
Yeah,
"Of
this was
course."
his. This is a cosplay he did last year doing Convivial. So as you can
oh,
see,
nice.
he's got the hair.
Love it.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
think that'd be very frustrating after a while if you're not used to it. Oh,
Yeah.
it looks great though.
It does look great. Nice job.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I would, especially with that on your forehead too. Like I can understand the timer on that would be
The
pretty
beads of
short.
sweat that
Yeah.
I did, I there was something about you're doing it for the first time, and you put the glue on to put the head on. Now the sweat is staying in my eyes. I've got the hair in my face. And like you said, once I said, okay, I had a panel. So I did the panel, and then I was like, okay, it's done. I get out of this. I've
Yes.
got to go. And I was wondering about that because I had never really done that. Now I'm prepping for the next big thing, which is going to be at the Tidewater HorrorCon. And I'm going as the Arkham Knight, but it's Azrael. So, it's a little bit more flowing and everything else. But I was just wondering about the comfort value versus, you know what I mean? When you first do
Yeah.
something, you like you said, you're so hyped and to be out there and showing your thing. And then that comfort factor kicks in, like you're not going to be able to do this for long. And being
Yeah.
a larger guy, that's great. That heat kicks. I'm like, oh, time to take the mask off. It's time to take this off. But I was just wondering about that.
Yeah, prosthetics in particular, like those things, they're not meant to breathe, so it's always a horrible time. I frankly find that I have higher stamina when I'm in a convention than I do doing photo shoots because at least you have like, okay, someone likes my costume, like I can smile and take a picture, and I'm getting like a little bit of adrenaline from that. But if you're at a photo shoot, you're just like, oh my god, I'm so hot, or I'm so cold, or my feet hurt. So I get it. Everyone drink water and know your limits because it's testing out your costume before you wear it is also helpful, but like there's still
Not too
only a
realistic.
finite amount of time, right? So,
All right. Well, I have a question now. I like cosplaying, and I'm one of those people that always order my costumes off of Amazon. Now, what do you suggest I do, or what should I do if I decide to get started to, maybe putting my ideas of what I want to cosplay as together?
ooh, a good question. I personally, I love. There's so much accessibility to cosplay now, which I love. I think you can get so much stuff. I like to think of, if you're assembling stuff, I tend to make things because I like the customized piece, but if you're assembling things, just think about break your costume down into like parts, right? Like what are the key cells of this character? Typically it's the wig, at least the hair color, right? So starting with getting a wig that looks fairly similar. If they've got like a lot of like buckles and belts and shirts and tunics and all this other stuff, thinking through things in like pieces and finding stuff kind of in a sort of systematic way, I think will really help. Because I think a lot of times folks get overwhelmed. They're like, oh my God, this character has 11 different parts, where do I start? And if you just really break it down into layers, like, okay, they're probably wearing pants. It might be a natural fiber because they're tromping around in the woods or old timey or whatever. I can get some cotton linen pants. Great. Okay. They clearly need a belt to put these pants up. So let me get a belt, and just kind of thinking at it in like kind of a structured, sort of tiered way to help keep it from being overwhelmed with the complexity of characters, I think. It's my
Totally
personal.
agree. I agree. And then too, if you ever want to start making something and you've never made anything before, don't immediately start. I gotta make the whole thing.
Yeah.
If it is, you'll get very frustrated very quickly. So I think that it's great to start with maybe partially made kind of thing. So if you're making, I don't know, Lion-O from Thundercats, right? You maybe don't want to make the bodysuit if you choose to wear a bodysuit. You can buy that offline, and then maybe you do the wig, or you make his sword, or you just sort of make the accessories. You don't have to make the entire thing at first blush because I think that can be very frustrating for people, especially if they've never made something before. I also think it's really important to know what you like and know your own learning style and your own assembly style. What works for me and pro and what works for a lot of other cosplayers may not work for you. I've seen plenty of tutorials where it just doesn't work with my learning style, so I have to throw that out and do something different. And that's totally okay too. So yeah, I think starting kind of like pro set is with just bits and pieces. And then again, if you want to make it, just again bits and pieces. You don't have to make the whole thing from the first from your first go, and pick a character and costume you're interested in. That's going to give you motivation when it gets to be not fun. There's always that one part of the costume where you're like, I hate this. I don't want to do this anymore. Why did I choose this costume?
The beginning.
From the beginning. The beginning. Usually for me, it's the fitting part. I'm like, oh, I hate fitting things. But I love finding supplies. But when it comes to having to like make sure it fits, you're just like, I hate this. Why did I pick this costume?
Yes.
But if you're really motivated and you really like the design or the character or the event that you're going to, you have something that you can look forward to wear the dark times when you have that part of the costume to get through. You have like a light at the end of the tunnel. I think that's really helpful too.
Okay. Go ahead, show some images.
Okay. Well, we did have a few pictures of yours that we'd like to show.
Oh,
Thank you.
Will you tell us a little bit about these?
Sure.
Okay, here we go.
Oh yeah. Okay, that's Botan. I made this one, I don't know, last year, year before. Botan's a character from Yu Yu Hakusho. I guess now it's a nostalgic anime. He's one of my favorite characters from the show. The fabric from the kimono, I actually bought that in Singapore. I bought one fabric and didn't like the way it draped, so I got a brand new one. I made the obi and the wig, so it was actually pretty involved. And my floor was just covered in pink fibers for a while, but it was really fun. It was real fun. I love botan, so it was a fun costume to put together. I used like traditional Japanese kimono construction techniques as well. I really wanted to make it as accurate as possible.
That's awesome.
Wow. Now you say you made the wig. What do you mean by making the wig?
Oh, that's a good question. So for this one, I bought a base wig, but I totally took it apart and then re-wefted it, which means I took all the fibers out and then glued them into a ponytail shape. So it was more or less made from just raw wig fibers. That wig is actually almost like a helmet, so it can just like pop on because she's got a pretty big ponytail in the back. So to support the weight and to keep the shape, I wanted to make it solid. So yeah, that whole thing was from scratch pretty much.
How much time did that take?
Yeah, especially with the wig. How long did
You
it
know,
take you to craft the
how much
wig?
how much time it did take versus how much time it should have taken if I hadn't been rushing. It took, I think the wig took about a week, maybe. So
Okay.
maybe like 25 hours or so. Maybe not even that long. Maybe 15 hours for the wig. And then no, I don't even think it was 15 hours. You know what? I think it was maybe 10 hours for the wig. I think making the kimono, since there's two in there, that probably took maybe 30, 40 hours of actual construction, not including the research and the buying of materials and the sizing of everything. Just pure construction.
Oh
That
wow.
wig
I'm
held
not
on well though, because we were tromping around in the woods for those photo shoots with World of Gwendana, amazing
Oh, yeah.
photographer by the way.
Uh-huh.
And that wig was perfection
Thank
all
you.
the
She
time.
held
So it
up.
was good.
Even me
Yeah.
running
Beautiful.
around from bugs, it held up.
Okay.
Oh, that's me.
That's
Oh,
Oh yay! A
so.
fellow
I
Cruella.
love it. I think you showed this to me at
That
NACOCON. I love it. Yes. Oh,
was
this is so
me
good.
about 2 years ago. I wore that to work.
Love
This is a
it.
day-to-day look. You need to put this on day to day. Oh, it looks so good. And I
Oh,
love the fanny pack.
I was gonna say the fanny pack is everything. Oh,
Yes.
so cool. Oh my gosh. Oh, Nikki. Oh my god, Nikki.
Wow.
Yeah,
Please
this
tell us
one
about
was
this.
Nikki. I made this one to enter the Crown Championships of Cosplay in 2020. 22. Sorry. If you're unfamiliar, there's a couple of international cosplay contests. This is one of the bigger ones in the United States, and it has international components. So basically, competitors compete in each region, and then there's a regional winner, and then a national winner, and then the national winner goes to compete for the world title. And I won in this ball gown the U.S. title and regional qualifier in Chicago. But this one was a beast. Once you get to international competitions, it's kind of like you got to do all the things. So I made literally everything in this costume. I made the shoes, like full on cobbled some shoes. The hoop skirt in there. There's 4 layers of skirts in there, 3 layers of skirts. One of them is straight up screen door netting that I sewed together, 13 yards of that. I 3D printed that staff. I learned CAD, which was horrible. The wig I made from individual hair plugs. You can kind of see the bottom of the dress. There's like these horses and chariots kind of there. That's all silicone because I wanted to be able to travel with it. I had to go compete in London, and so that's all silicone that I cast. Oh, there's 10,000 rhinestones on there I put on by hand. That
Oh,
fabric on the outside, the blue, you can kind of see like there's some like sort of lighter detailing in there. I custom had laser cut a stamp that I designed to emboss my own velvet. I mean, it's got if there's a thing in there, I did it. I made the tassels from scratch. I did all that's foam. There's 3D printing, I think I mentioned. Light leather work. The crown is magneted into my head and it's thermoplastics and folders and all kinds of chaos. I made the resin or made resin gemstones. I dyed the lace to match. Oh, I made the paint. I used pigment and different types of mediums to make the paints because I was like, I want the golds to match. It was a whole disaster. But yeah, she was a labor of love. She took 2 years, but I was really excited to get to represent the United States in London and get to win the USA title. So yeah,
We're
she's
so proud of her. I think she's
hey.
the first
Wow.
Black
That is
person to ever
amazing.
won.
Oh
And what
yeah,
about the feathers on the side there?
yeah.
You had to hand put those in as well.
Yeah, I made each individual feather out of EVA foam. I think there's like 70 of them in there or something. She has real little, like tiny feathers in this costume. This is from one of the Love Nikki games,
Uh huh.
and so she's got these like really teensy little tiny wings in the back, and yeah, I made all the feathers, painted them individually, glued them in there. Oh man, I'm forgetting about there's so much, so much
It was
embroidery.
And you said that took you 2 years to complete?
Yeah, I started it in 2019, finally finished it in I took a break from it and then finished it in 2022. But yeah, I was
Wow.
real proud. It was a good time, and like Con mentioned, I was the first Black woman to place. I believe maybe not place, maybe definitely win. So that was exciting. And yeah, it was just really cool to get that kind of representation out there. I had people crying at me while I'm crying, and it was a wonderful and magical moment. I'm like, "Ugh," and they're like, "Ugh," and I'm like, "Ugh." It was lovely. So truly wonderful experience. Lots of really great folks and very inspirational because it's like, I mean, this is world class competing. So you're like, oh my god,
Yeah,
little me has made it to the point where I'm able to compete on a world level. And it was just truly truly wonderful. So yeah,
yeah, that is amazing.
Wow.
Totally.
thanks. She's a beast. She's very heavy. Very heavy, very heavy. So yeah, I
Wow.
of
you
course
could
it's
deadlift that
you
costume. I think
can't. It's
that'd be a good workout.
one of the
Just knew
skirts
that
alone
one
is
today,
seven
huh?
pounds. Like one skirt is 7 pounds. So it's
7 pounds.
yeah.
Oh my
How
God.
long did you last wearing that before you had to take it off?
So actually, this is actually a fairly comfortable costume, despite
Okay.
how heavy it is, because corsets. The magic of corsets, y'all. Corsets displace the weight of the fabric that just kind of sits in the corset, not your body. So it's great.
Okay.
And I was really conscientious about how I designed it. Like the hoop skirts, they also displace a lot of the weight too. So it really wasn't too bad. I think I got into this at like, I don't know, maybe during judging, maybe an hour before judging, 2 hours. Well, it took 4 hours to get dressed. So 4 hours to get dressed, judging, and then to the end of the day. So I had probably about 10, 15 hours. Um, so I will never do that again. As soon as I walked off the stage and got like my little final pictures taken, my shoes were like, "We're done being laced," and then I was like, "Okay, it's done." So
Okay. Wow, that's amazing.
thanks.
What is the most expensive costume that you've ever made? Because
That
this
one.
was like, you saying it took 2 years, the feathers, the hair. If you wouldn't mind me asking.
Yeah, that one. That was the most expensive costume ever made. This one probably cost 5 grand because
Oh,
silicone. Silicone is so expensive. It's a wonderful material. Let me shout out Smooth On Materials. They're wonderful. They're the greatest silicone in the land. Dragon skin in particular is my fave. But because it's so high quality, it's not cheap, and that alone was a lot. And then velvet's not cheap either, and the just vast amount of materials and rhinestones was expensive. And then you do trial and error. You're like, I don't like this. I like that. So, yeah, this is by far the most expensive costume I've made.
wow,
We
that's
try not to look
amazing.
at the numbers though.
Yeah, we
Oh,
just
hey,
pretend.
Dustin, it's Dustin. We try not to look at the
Hi.
cost.
Yes.
It is cosplay, but I don't like to know my sins. Whenever I get a receipt, I'm like, just throw that away. I don't want it.
Yes.
If I pay my bills, great. That's all I need to know.
Right. Right.
I
Rent
understand that.
was
Definitely
paid.
understand.
Don't need to know about the rest. Exactly.
I got you.
Oh, yay. These were fun. Many moons ago, we were like, you know what? I want a Gucci tracksuit, but I can't afford a real one. So let's just make our own
Yes.
in like a Princess Peach and Daisy style. So it was really fun. This was so fun. Pro like did the patterning of the tracksuits, and then I designed the print. So like I got on Photoshop and like made these print tiles and got it sent off to get it imprinted on the fabric. So if you look, like it's like a Gucci D and a P. And between the P's is a mini crown, and between the D's is like a little flower. And so it was super fun. And we did like a photo shoot. Yeah, we did like a photo shoot in the West Bottoms of Kansas City, like near all the graffiti, because we wanted like that whole like 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 late '80s, early '90s like hip hop vibe. So it was so fun.
Yes.
It was
And
cold,
both
but
of
it was
us were like, we want gold welt pockets because opulence. And then Con also made all the wigs for us, which was lovely because I didn't want to do it, and she did a great job. So yeah, it was great. It was a lot of
It
fun.
was so fun. I'd love to do. My dream is to do a whole line of like fandom inspired tracksuits and like fandom inspired streetwear. I just like need to find time. But every year we're like, let's do it. But it was so fun. Like it was a great like creative outlet. I think for just a fun, funny costume we could do for a little bit, and it was such a good time.
Among the more comfortable ones of uncomfortable.
Yeah, I
Yes.
can imagine because that doesn't look like it, impedes anything. I guess would be the way to say it. And
No,
you look like you can wear it all day without having any issues with it.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
true. That is more one of the more comfortable ones. I have to wear like the shoes I usually pick are like not my favorite, but that's really more of a me problem. But yeah,
Okay.
they are for the most part pretty comfortable costumes. That's true.
Yes.
Mm, wow.
And I love the dresses here too as well.
Thank you. This is another set of ball gowns we did for a costume contest in Colorado. I want to say 2019.
It was
Um,
2018. No, 2019. You're right.
I
Sorry.
think you're right. Yeah, yeah. This is from an illustrator named Sakizo, and she does these really elaborate, like just crazy costumes. And we did Juliet. So Juliet's me pro on the right, and Con is the fairy godmother on the left. We did a lot with this. I mean, this was, I think, my first time. Well, not first time. This was my first time properly making a corset. I think with actual like a true corset, like not some of the commercial patterns. I used it as a kind of customized pattern. And then so there's two corsets in that, which again help with that weight because that skirt was heavy. Cast all the rhinestones. It's a bunch of velvet and what is it? Oh my gosh, uh, vinyl. Those sleeves are 37 parts a piece. I remember doing that and being like, "Why is this my life?" And then in the front, there's this style of fabric manipulation called smocking. And it's kind of just a way to create these kind of cool honeycomb prints. It's kind of like think about an old timey elastic, if you will, but it's a great way to add decoration and kind of fancifulness to your costumes. But I'll turn it over to Con because frankly, your wig was very exciting. So
Oh no, no, thanks. That I thought this mocking turned out really beautiful in that costume. Though it was really
thank
great.
you. Thank you.
For mine, I was the fairy godmother, so I'm on the left with the pink hair. And the highlight of that was I made that whole wig again from scratch. Like I bought all these hair plugs. They were all over the couch. They were everywhere. Like I made all these hair plugs and individually plugged them in, individually curled all of them, and then it's a lace front. So I put baby bangs in there because you have to wear baby bangs, and it was a time that was a beast. It took forever, but it was actually it was very rewarding. There were many times I was like, I don't know if this is gonna work, but it was a labor of love. I love, like I said, doing wigs. The bigger the better, the more volume the better. I got some millinery wire imported from England. I don't know why I had to get it from there to make the whisk in the back. And there's a set of pocket hoops that I made as well. We did like a whole skit. The skit from it was we remixed the Scrub song from TLC, and it was about poor Cinderella who was like looking for really wanting this man, but the fairy godmother comes in and tells her like this man's a scrub, like why are you interested in him? So that was our whole skit. So we remixed the lyrics to that. It was really fun. And I think we
Yes.
took home best master, something like that,
Yeah.
at that convention. So it was a lot of fun.
Yes, it was fun.
So
Okay.
we had like a whole disappearing act.
I think we have one more, which, hold on. Here we go. That was the reason my wife wanted to show you that picture is because we saw this one and thought you looked amazing.
Oh, thank you! Yay!
Sweet.
Yes, that's my Cruella costume. I there was a convention we were going to, Holiday Matsuri, and the year they had a theme for a Regency, and I was like, let's do Regency Cruella DeVille. She's one of my favorite. She has my favorite aesthetic for villains, right? Black and white, kind of like gaudy. And so I made the wig. That's actually two wigs I sewed together and cut and styled.
Didn't
And
they come
then
from Afro wigs and you just like straightened and recurled it,
they
right?
did. It was a totally different style. Yeah, I think they were curled Afro wigs, and I straightened them. Yeah, because I was trying to demonstrate for a tutorial that you can do different things with different types of wigs. You can just buy a wig, and if you have enough technique, you can make it look however you want. So that one had three different styles to it, and I landed on that one. And yeah, and I sewed them both together. And then the print, I hand put the print on there with I think it was Jacquard ink. I made like a stamp and was again took up the whole living room to like stamp all the individual Dalmatian spots on there. I still so many feathers. I have a
Yes.
mild allergy to marabou feathers, but that won't stop me from using them. They look fun. Pro hates it because they get everywhere.
Yes.
But but it was actually surprisingly not that bad to put together. A Regency dress is basically, we had a friend describe it as like just top and then bag. So you just make a cinched top basically, and the rest is just a long skirt with pleats in it, and pretty easy to put together.
It does create a very dramatic and delicious twirl situation. So,
Well, thank you. The
yes.
first day I wore it, I spilled coffee on it. So whenever you wear white, it's a reminder.
I'm so
So
sorry
that's
to
why we
hear
carry
that.
sticky movers.
We have a running
He's
joke though that
washable, so it's
that
fine. I
that
throw in
Con
wash.
we have a running joke that Con will always have like a meal inside of the costume in some capacity. One time there was like full on chocolate chip cookie on the inside of a
There's chocolate
seam.
cookie. Fairy Godmother has chocolate chip cookie in it. Yes. Photon. One of mine has pizza on it somewhere. Like I always, yeah, it's true. Very accurate. There's always food in my costume.
Okay. And I was going to ask, you said you sewed two wigs together. How long did that take to do that? Because,
I bought mine on Amazon.
yeah, we,
There's nothing wrong with that. A good Amazon. I have a couple of like black and white Amazon wigs too, because they're just it's great because they're already done. This one, like I said, I was doing it for a specific tutorial, but sewing it together didn't take that long. It's the more tedious part is each individual weft has to be connected, and so that was just like hand sewing each individual line of track, I guess, of wig fiber. So it really didn't take that long. I think I'm a pretty fast hand sewer, so I don't know, maybe an hour, maybe two, maybe an hour and a half. So it didn't take that long to do the actual sewing. That was actually a pretty easy way to sew. Thank God.
And I know earlier you said you've been to London. Is that the furthest place that you've gone? You've been, cosplaying? I mean,
Oh,
London.
let's see. London was great. But no, we've been quite a few places. We've been to wonderful show called Alias in Trinidad and Tobago. Wonderful time there. Being cosplay guests and kind of just helping out and seeing how great the show was. We've been to Singapore. We got to represent the United States in Singapore CosFest, which is where Con got all that fabric, and we spent a lot of money on fabric. It was great. Loved it. Would go back. We've been to Australia because we were close to Australia, next to Singapore. We weren't we to go see some friends to just go to PAX and like hang out. So that was a lot of fun. Um, is that it? I think
I
that's
think
it.
Australia might be the furthest, but yeah,
Yeah,
I think
Australia's the
those
farthest.
three places.
Yeah,
Yeah, those is that four places that we've been for cosplay.
yeah.
Wow. And you said, that's it. I'm like, oh my God. What do you mean that's it?
No, like I
I'm
just wanted to
looking
make sure
at
that I hadn't missed
Vegas,
anyone.
but
No,
wow.
we're
That's
so grateful. I mean,
awesome.
it's crazy. Like you think back like 20 years ago when we were just like, "Oh, put on this pillowcase and go trot around in my flip flops at a convention," is gonna somehow launch you into being able to travel the world and talk about costuming with people all over the globe. I mean, it has been the craziest but most exciting time, and we're ever grateful just that anyone's even looking at our stuff, much less wanting to invite us places. So, truly, just it's been a phenomenal ride for sure.
Wow. Will we be seeing you at NecaCon this year in Virginia?
Good.
I go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, first
Yeah,
one.
I don't we hadn't made any solid plans yet, but if they want to invite us back, we would love to consider. But we had such a great time at NecoCon. I think that was one of our first East Coast cons, and it was so lovely. Everyone was so kind, everyone was so generous and just sweet, and they made us feel like our little Midwestern hearts were back in the Midwest. We also brought our family, and they loved it too because they wanted to go check out the hospitality, and it was just lovely. So shout out to NecoCon. They run an amazing show. It was great.
yeah. And we purchased our tickets for this coming year already, so we will be there.
Yay, good.
Again. But thank you so
Yep.
much for joining us. Um, is there anything else you want to tell everybody how they can find you online?
Sure, yeah. You please feel free to like come follow us on all of our socials. We're Pros and Cons Cosplay on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Blue Sky, and Threads. And then if you're on Facebook, we have two groups that we run for cosplay related things. There is the Cosplay Contest Support Group. So if you're interested in cosplay competitions, that's a group to get all the information about cosplay contests. So I'm the founder of that group. And then Pro is the founder of the Cosplay Contest Runners Assemble group. So if you ever administer a cosplay contest, that's a great group to get some insight from the showrunner perspective. POC Cosplayers is another great place to go for anyone who's POC, BIPOC, to find community and find other cosplayers that are like you, to interact with others and to see what people are up to. That's another great group. So yeah, we're everywhere. It's too much. There's too many social media platforms.
I
Just
know.
enough. Just pick one. Let's just go to one. Let's just pick one.
Consolidate. Let's go back to Zanga. Like that'd be great. Um, or live journal. Like let's do that. Um, the only thing I'll leave with is like I think sometimes folks get really in their head about like starting costuming and thinking it has to be this really intense, like massive undertaking. And it can be, but it certainly doesn't have to be. I think just getting your foot in, finding out what you like to do and doing it, there's nothing wrong with buying your costume. There's nothing wrong with having friends make it. There's nothing wrong if it doesn't fit perfectly. There's nothing wrong with wanting to do bigger and better stuff. It's such a choose your own adventure hobby and skill set that I think anyone who likes fandom can find joy in costuming, just finding your niche. So I really encourage anyone who's thinking like, oh, I don't know if I want to do it. I feel like it's so hard. It's really not. It could be as simple as putting on a t-shirt. Like it truly is not, doesn't have to be intense. And I just hope everyone gives it a try because it's truly one of my life's greatest loves.
Thank you
And
so
I want
much.
Mark,
to
you
add to that.
put that down, don't you? That's all your
I
t-shirt,
was
your
gonna
hat,
say,
your
you said,
Yeah.
would you say that one more time? Like just putting on a t-shirt. Would you say
Yeah.
that?
Put on a t-shirt. Listen, there's so many characters that just wear t-shirts. That's fine. You've got it,
Clark Kent, doesn't he wear a t-shirt and like a
Young Clark.
a plaid shirt? Like it's fine.
Yeah, Tom
Bam, I'm
Welling.
Clark Kent.
That one, yeah.
Tom Welling.
Wear a plaid shirt and a t-shirt on some jeans, and boom, you're
Yeah.
Tom Welling Superman. Like you're good. Doesn't have to be. You're an original character. I'm NPC guy.
T-shirt
Like,
man.
t-shirt man. Yes.
See, actually, all the hats behind me. I have a shirt that matches the hat, so that is my cosplay.
You're the hat superhero, right? Like I think
Yeah.
it's such a great, so choose your own venture. I love it.
And I wanted to add too, like in present state, right? It is very difficult, I think, for folks to find joy. And dressing up and being who you are and doing things that make you happy is a form of resistance as well. Happiness and finding community, finding place, finding self, finding purpose. You can do that in cosplay. Sometimes you just need a break from the nonsense. And if putting on a funny wig and a hat makes you feel good, then do it. Especially in a world that's telling you that you can't exist. I think now's the time more than ever to be as loud and as proud as possible, and just truly be who you are. You know what I mean? Put on that wig. Life is too short to be worried about, if you look silly or not.
Yes.
Have a good time.
The goal is to be silly. The goal is to dilly dally. Be whimsical.
Yes, all the dilly dallying.
It's great words. Great words.
Thank you so
We're
much.
very Midwestern. I apologize.
All right, Calvis, want to take us out?
Yes, I want to thank our special guest, Pros and Cons Cosplay. Ladies, you have definitely inspired me. Hopefully, Marky Mark to do more than a t-shirt.
It's baby steps. It's building.
Yeah, we got to drag him kicking and screaming in there. But it was a blast having you. I mean, we normally do a 30-minute show, but I was texting Mark. I'm like, please let him keep going. Let him keep going. I love this.
I'm so sorry.
Great
We talk so much.
No. Believe me.
Yeah, thank you.
We love having good content. Normally, I'll say we've been struggling with really good content. So when we get someone or persons like yourselves that can really, fill that, I want it to keep going. I don't want to stop. You know what I mean? Because you guys were great. You've given this old fan something to look forward to, because I'm actually building my first cosplay together. So hearing you guys tell me that was so inspiring. And of course, I have to thank Captain Xena and Marky Mark, because they've helped push this channel and the Cosmic Portal so much by going out, interviewing and networking and meeting you guys. I'm trying to get to NecoCon, so I really hope that you guys come back there next year, this year, because I would love to, to be there in person, at least to see you in person. And we'd love to have you back if you guys can make it sometime, in the near future, because it's just such a delight to have someone or someone's of your caliber on the show, and to have that positive message that you have in fandom is a delight, because like you said, we are in some dark times, some real dark times, and to have that levity, to have that experience, and to have that joy that you have was just awesome.
Oh, I'm all gassed up now. That's so nice. Thank you. Thanks for having us anytime.
Black women. I mean, the few cosplays that I've done, I've had a few people that kind of look down. I'm a, black woman that loves Star Trek, and just listening to the two of y'all, it made me just want to. I don't know if I can try to make one, but it made me really want to go out and do more for cosplaying, which I love. He wears his shirts. I'm the one that, dress up and I'm like, babe, come on, but I'm still going wearing, my outfits because I love doing it. And, like with that Corella one, I wore that to work.
I love
Every
it.
Halloween, they know I'm going to dress up because I can.
I love it.
So just listening to y'all, this was great. And I hope we get y'all up here again. Hope.
Thank you so much. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
You won't
thank
make
you.
things. Please
Likewise,
send
we
us
had a
pictures.
yes, I would love to keep in touch. And likewise, when we met at NecoCon, I was like, this is my favorite conversation. Like, we were up there for like an hour and a half, just like chit chatting, and it was so much fun.
Yeah.
And like, it's great to just have community with people that look like you and have similar experiences and similar feelings about things. And it was delightful. So please, 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 yes, make things and then send them to us because I would love to see what you all come up with because
Yes.
it's so great.
Thank you so much.
And we want you, once we get to go ahead and we're going to end the show, please hang out for a minute and we'll, touch a few bases before you leave.
Sounds
Ladies
good.
and gentlemen, I want to thank everyone for showing up tonight, thanking our special guests. I want to thank, of course, Captain Xena and Marky Mark for making this a very special night. I hope they've inspired you as much as they inspired me. And if I can do it, I know you can do it. So, what should I say? What should I leave you with? Life is too short. Cosplay.